Okay, we're still waiting for the we're still waiting for the other wonderful teachers to come this into this webinar. So I think we need to wait for a moment. Okay, welcome, Larissa Gumina from Moldova. Wow, an from Eastern European country. Welcome, Tina Karam from Malaysia. Welcome, yeah, very close to Indonesia. Welcome, Cory Padilla Romero from Peru. Wow, from outside, like so far from Indonesia, like on the other side of the planet. Welcome, wonderful teacher. Hello, Pujaria. Welcome from Indonesia. We have also Indonesian teacher in here. I believe all of us are an English teachers. Yeah, that's good. Okay, what about the others? We're still waiting for 2 minutes before we begin our section for today. Yeah, by the way, I'm also from Indonesia, so I'm an English teacher as well. And I'm a really dedicated English teacher, especially for the younger generations, Like, since I'm a Gen Z, is there any Gen Z English teacher in here? Maybe I'm the only one. Welcome, Mary from Philippines. Yeah, close to Indonesia. Welcome. Okay, we're still waiting for the others. Please type on the group chat. Welcome, Ivan from Vietnam. Yeah, good evening. Nice one. Well, good evening to Mr. Ivan. Okay, so just for information, this webinar will be held for an hour. So please, if you have any friends, any other English teachers, please encourage them to join this wonderful webinar because we have a long dedicated international teacher trainer, and I think we can have you know a discussion related to his personal experience. Especially I saw it on his LinkedIn that he is also he also holds Trinity College London certification, and he also trains for many teachers in that field. So I think this is such a very wonderful webinar coming from the IELTA Indonesia branch. Okay, welcome for the newest one. Welcome, guys. We're still waiting for other English teachers. Okay, okay. It's been 5 minutes, so I think we can move on into our discussion today. So you can have a drink, you can have a chit chat on the group chat, okay? But please turn off your microphone during our discussion until the Q&A section. So my name is Yugo Ramkan, so I'm gonna be your moderator for this wonderful webinar. And today we want to talk about something wonderful from our teacher trainer. But before that, we want to welcome Mr. Fajaruddin Akbar as the IELTA Indonesia ambassador. Mr. Fajar, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Teacher Ricky, and also thank you, teachers from around the world I've seen in the chat joining us tonight or today, wherever you are joining us from. And also let us know what you do in education, because I believe not only teachers, but sometimes director of studies, teacher trainers, curriculum designers, and of course, especially English teachers. Again, I'm Fajar, and I'm an English teacher, and I also teach English online. So this session is not only will be, you know, very beneficial for everyone joining, but also personally, today we're going to hear from Paul, who is the CEO and founder of English Training Online. But that will be for our moderator to talk more, to introduce him. I would like to introduce IELTA Indonesia. So IELTA Indonesia is part of International English Language Teachers Association. So kindly let us know in the chat if you are a member of IELTA in Indonesia or from other countries. And we are mostly running on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. Again, it's very easy. You can just search for IELTA Indonesia, or you can go to facebook.com/indonesia.ielta. We are a free English language teachers community, especially if you are from Indonesia, in Indonesia, teaching English, and you would like to have a space, a place to share about teaching English or to learn more about teaching English, you are very welcome to join us on Facebook and then message us to know more how to become a member. Membership is free. We are a volunteer community-based organization, and we have been running since 2023, and we have had more than I think almost 20 webinars now. So we run webinars, we run online courses, facilitations, MOOC camps. We also have events not only for teachers, but also for students. So if you're an English teacher, you have your students want to connect with students from around the world, we also have students organization within our community. So again, feel free to reach us out on Facebook. Why Facebook? Because that's the easiest platform that we can use to connect. Maybe especially in Indonesia, WhatsApp and Instagram, they are very popular, but not everywhere because we are connected with branches from around the world. So that's why we mainly use Facebook. So again, feel free to reach us out on Facebook, send us a message to learn more about how to become a member, or if you want to be updated for our future events like this. So again, thank you very much, teachers, for joining. We are really looking forward to your participation and your ideas, questions during the presentation, and your reflection after this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Fajar. So I believe we can continue to our wonderful speaker for today. So his name is Paul Ashe. I believe is it that's how it's pronounced, or sorry for the mistaken. So Paul Ashe, Mr. Paul Ashe is a lifelong learner, currently completing a master's in management and technology, who enjoys helping you to find effective, imaginative, and durable solutions. Also, Mr. Paul Ashe passionate about management, teacher training, print and digital materials, writing, and continuous professional development. Since entering the world of ELT in 1997, wow, that was, I mean, like, I was born in 2003, so it was like 6 years before I born. Mr. Paul Ashe has been teaching English since that time. And Mr. Fualashi also enjoys being a teacher, academic manager, school director, IHWO tutor, Trinity Certisol tutor, and course director for CELTA and Delta tutor, specializing in ELTM and business and academic management consultant. And also, he is the founder of English Training Online, which he will describe later. And this program for the English training online provides solutions for teachers and centers. I believe that Mr. Paul Asher, the stage is yours. You can speak right now.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Certainly kind of embarrasses me to hear how long I've been around and all the things I've done. You can tell I have been around for a while with the grey hair, but thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. And first of all, well done. I think your students are very lucky to have people as dedicated as you for their teacher. I mean, not many people stay up, and awake and focused at 8 p.m. Indonesia time, whatever time it is where you are, in order to continue their professional development. So, well done. And hopefully by the end of today, we will be looking at, or better able to continue to teach effectively online and be the best online teacher we can be. And that's the idea today. So first question, nice and easy. Give me a number in the chat. 1, 2, 3, or 4. How are you feeling today? In the chat. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Sorry. Just a number. Oh, 4. Lovely. Yes. Wow, that's brilliant. Excellent. How are you feeling? So what I'm doing, I have to measure your psychological baggage. Oh, 3. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, if you are number 2, that's I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully number 3 is sort of, what am I going to get from this session? That's what we're going to do. Now, nowadays, we're doing 101 things at the same time. So I'm sure that while you're listening to me right now, you're probably doing a few other things as well. And that's a natural state that we're all in. So we want our students to be like this. Obviously, when we're teaching them online, what we don't want them to be is like this. This is kind of what we want to avoid ideally. Now, the question is how? Well, that's what we're going to look at. How can we avoid our online students being like that? So this is what I want you to do. First of all, your fidget spinner task. This is an activity that will get you doing something while we're doing something. Because as I say, we're all multitasking nowadays. So can you write down, doesn't have to be in the chat, it can be on a piece of paper or somewhere on your PC. What do you think you will hear today in this talk? This is important because we will come back to this at the end of the session. What do you think we're going to hear? Funny case scenarios, right? Okay, hopefully. So tell us, what do you think? Or write it down just for you. Keep that list because we're going to check. Thank you, Larissa. I hope so as well. Yes. Okay, so these are the areas that we're going to focus on. Okay, we're going to look at optimal setup for success. We may talk about games, definitely. The theory of effective teaching. What is it to teach effectively? Then online methodologies. And I may say something that some of you possibly agree or disagree with. And that's great because we can open up a discussion. We'll have a look at online safety, the teaching platforms that you use, as well as the teaching tools, okay? And how best to choose those teaching tools. So let's begin with your setup. Now, as you can see, possibly, I'm standing up because when I'm teaching, I get lots of nervous energy. I wouldn't be able to sit down. In a physical classroom, I don't tend to sit down, but I have to force myself to do it because it's not always a good idea to be towering over students that are seated. So remember, even in a physical classroom, your students don't have to sit down. They can stand up and do their work, the same as when you're teaching online. The only thing you have to worry about is what's behind you, not what is behind the camera. So think about your setup. And here are some practical examples. These are real online teacher setups. You see on the left some of the criteria that I use to analyze these setups. So on the Effective Live Online Teaching course, this is a course to become a professional live online teacher, I will help you analyze your setup and suggest things that you should keep. And we can see the very long list of things on the left here of what we should continue to do. And then maybe other ways to suggest a kind of a healthier setup. For example, this setup doesn't offer the option to stand up, and I would probably suggest something that way. Let's have a look at this setup as well. Very well organized. Notice the laptop's plugged in just in case there's a power cut. You've always got that battery on the laptop. Very useful. The whiteboard's a great idea as well. So a few others. Now, obviously, we are focused on teaching English, but there are many things that are taught online. And here you can see an example of the music teacher and their setup as well. Notice there are 3 screens. That's always useful when sharing so many things sometimes, as well as the microphone. The quality of that microphone is very important. And then the quality of the camera and the location of the camera as well. It's very important too. Let's have a look at some other examples. Okay, so things to think about. Your chair is very important. Armrests, back for your neck as well is useful. The lighting is important. Right now, I'm standing in front of a window, so I'm benefiting from the natural light of the window and saving electricity, by not having to turn on the light in the room that I'm in. The footrest on your desk is important, whether you're standing up or sitting down as well. Notice the possible use of multiple screens might be useful, certainly as a backup. Now, there's an argument for and against headphones. Obviously, you're going to be able to hear your students a little bit better. However, it has been demonstrated that prolonged use of headphones or earphones can lead to tinnitus, that kind of high-pitched noise that some people suffer from. I suffer from it, for example, but not because of teaching online. This is hereditary, I think. So be careful with prolonged use of those headphones or earphones. And think about using your background as a teaching tool as well. I mean, I have a virtual background as well as others as well. You could use that for a teaching tool. So this is by far, I think, the most imaginative, creative setup I have seen for teaching online. Just notice all the positives here. So this is something I saw during COVID, during lockdown. So notice the teacher has a stand-up, sit-down desk on the ironing board. If the teacher wants to sit down, they just lower the ironing board. If they want to stand up, they raise the ironing board, possibly put a box underneath if they've got that camera on their laptop. Notice the natural light coming from the window that they're benefiting from as well. It also means that they have nice views, and we'll have a look at the 20-20-20 rule. They'll benefit from fresh air as well. So wow, lots of benefits. And notice it's a lot cheaper. It's a stand-up desk, which is a lot cheaper. And we'll see the percentage of productivity increase by having access to one of these flexible options where you can stand up or sit down while working online. And that's 45%. So in one study, it was demonstrated that there has been an increase of 45% in productivity by having access to a standing desk. So by that, I mean, the user can stand up or sit down if and when they wish to. And I think it's important to be able to have that option. The other thing is to remember that you don't have to actually be indoors as well as sitting down. So we'll have a look at some more examples there in a moment. So the other rule that I mentioned, 20-20-20, is again, thinking about our well-being and the well-being of our students. So this rule, put forward by Angel, suggests that we should look away from our screen every 20 minutes, focus on something 20 feet away, so about 6 meters, for 20 seconds. That will lower the risk of the negative impact of so much screen time as well. So notice this is useful for our well-being, but also something we should actively transmit to our students as well, and possibly give them, a brain break or in some way away from what we're doing. So we're thinking about the well-being of our students and ourselves in order to help us be the most effective online teacher. But it's not just physical well-being, but it's also the mental well-being. And that's one of the reasons that the first thing I did with you was to ask you, how are you? And it was just a simple 1, 2, 3, 4 with an emoji. I have to measure the room. And unfortunately, there are a few people here today that said they were too, maybe a little bit sad, possibly. Hopefully, by the end of the session, you'll feel a little bit more positive as well. So, reading the room, being aware of our well-being and psychological baggage as well as that of the student. So one of the things and the wonderful things about being teaching and working online is that you can work anywhere you want to. And I'm going to show you later some of the places that I worked and have been working over the last few years. One of the things that we could be thinking about when we choose where on this wonderful planet to work is the 330-300 rule. This is taken from urban planning. And it says basically wherever we reside, we should be able to see 3 trees from every home. There should be 30% tree canopy or canopy cover, sorry, in every neighborhood. And we shouldn't be further than 300 meters from the nearest green space. Think about where you live. Does that meet those requirements? If you're teaching and working online, it means that, well, possibly you could choose anywhere on the planet to live, and you might want to choose using this rule. However, it doesn't have to be where you live. It could be, well, I live here, but actually when I go to work, I work according to these rules. Now, if we move on, we'll be able to see some of the places that I have worked as well. So these are all places that I've worked from with useful and good internet connection. This was just a couple of weeks ago, funnily enough, this photograph here. And as you can see, mixing the sea and the mountains. So you don't have to work from indoors. You don't have to be sat down. You just need good internet connection to decide where on the planet you want to work. So this is actually my most frequent office. This is a forest up in the hills, a 12-minute drive from where I live. And the table that you see in the photograph is actually kept permanently in the back of my car with a chair. And when I get tired or fed up of being in the office, zoom. So at home, because I have a small office at home, that's what I do. I drive up to the hills. I connect my internet to my telephone, to a hotspot, and I can work from there as well. And have had some wonderful training sessions with students and teachers from that location as well. So this was something that I used with you guys today at the beginning, but notice in this example, now it's not numbers, it's actually the focus, maybe the lexical focus of the lesson for that day. So if we are looking at maybe, the countryside, I might ask the students, well, tell me how you're feeling, and they have to say either tree, plant, grass, flower. So we're already kind of introducing them to the topic of the lesson. This can be obviously done online as well as in a face-to-face context. So let's have a look at what we would consider effective teaching. Because obviously we all know what a good teacher does. But let's see what the theory says. See if we agree with that theory as well. So let's have a look at Gilbert Hyatt. So many years ago, 1951, this is what he said bad teaching was and the effects of it. This is what Hyatt said an effective teacher must believe in. And I think we would agree with this final statement by Hyatt as well. It's the igniting the passion in students. So we need to be passionate about what we're doing in order to transmit that. It's contagious, isn't it? Passion, when somebody's excited about what they're doing. We've all had those passionate teachers, and they're probably the ones that have inspired us to be the teachers we are today. So In one study, this was by Carol Waits in 1993. It was presented at IELTA conference many years ago. Here is one of the 6 points here that go towards creating a positive learning environment. And as you can see, while this study was focused on in-person, so face-to-face teaching, it's perfectly adaptable to online. Now, notice both in number 2 and number 6, the word sense, the expression sense of humor is mentioned. That doesn't mean we need to be cracking jokes every 2 minutes, but maybe a light-hearted approach sometimes can be very useful. And the awareness of students' needs and a desire to improve, if you can see there in number 3. You are already demonstrating that desire to improve because you're here today. So yeah, it's wonderful. Now, in my own research, this was carried out a couple of years ago, although it's ongoing. I asked teachers to define a MOT and a BOT, so a motivating online teacher and a boring online teacher. This is what they said a boring online teacher does. And as you can see, I'll leave you read that. A lot of it, some of it is kind of talking about knowing your classroom. And here is what they consider a motivating online teacher to be. And again, notice we come back to Hyatt's comment there about passion and transmitting that to our students. Obviously, one of the second biggest worry of live online teachers is the technical aspect of it. So electricity, internet connection, whether it be good or bad. And, and small little things can have an impact. Just the local weather can have an impact on the internet connection, for example. So being prepared for that and having backups, and on the online teacher training courses for CELTA, Delta, Trinity Cert, TESOL that I conduct, I tell trainees to think of different plans, backup options for electricity and internet. One of them, obviously, is they should always be teaching connected via an Ethernet cable, never depend on the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is your first backup. Then the next backup would be hotspotting on your telephone. Another backup after that would be anybody else's hotspots from their mobile phones in the house. I sometimes actually borrow my son's telephone or my wife's telephone if I need it. But there's also like your neighbor, get to know your neighbor. And in an emergency, in the middle of a lesson, you might have to knock on that very friendly neighbor's door and say, please, can I just borrow your Wi-Fi connection quickly? And then, after that, you'll go back with a cake or something nice to say thank you, I'm sure. But notice what we're doing. We're thinking of backup plans in order to avoid the stress that technical issues may cause. As regards electricity, we've seen in some of the setups that idea of connecting your laptop all the time. So if the power goes, you can use the battery of your laptop. You might have an extra device, a second computer that acts as a backup as well. That's what I use myself, but I also have an uninterruptible power supply, a UPS, and that will give me between 25 and 35 minutes of electricity if there is a complete power cut, which will be enough maybe to finish off what I'm doing and certainly save what I need to before turning off the computer. I'm reading some of your comments in the chat at the same time, and I really will come back to those at the end. So do keep those comments coming because there are some very, very useful comments. And yeah, and one of the comments there about the emotional well-being teaching online. One of the things that I tend to do, and I know Fajar's probably seen me posting about it, is every few months, I will, because I need it, go to a physical in-person conference for my professional development. I may talk there, or sometimes I just may not, and like to receive it. And the reason for that is to get those, I guess, psychological hugs, I call them, that physical contact, those in-person conversations with people in our sector. So I'm still getting that professional development, which I can get online, but the in-person contact, it balances things out for me, and sometimes I need to do that. So I think we all need to be aware of what we need and find solutions to them. So let's continue with this idea of, how do we become the best online teacher and motivate and engage our students? Because again, in the research I've carried out, the biggest fear of many online teachers is actually engaging students effectively. And one of those things is the methodologies we use. Now, my next statement might hurt. Emergency remote teaching. Do you remember COVID lockdown? We all had to very quickly move maybe whole schools in universities and centers and individuals online overnight. That was pretty stressful. So what we did was the best we could under those circumstances. And it was the best that we were able to do in the short time we had with the resources available under the circumstances. And teachers did a wonderful job. What that was emergency remote teaching, ERT. So it was taking what we do in the physical classroom and doing the same online. Why? Because in one weekend, I haven't got time to do a master's in digital pedagogy, I'm afraid. So I just need to find the best option under these circumstances. And as I say, everybody did a wonderful job, I think. However, that period is gone. It's long gone. And I've been teaching online since, I think, 2006. I'm not sure how that compares to Dwicky's birth year, whether that's still within that range. But what I mean by that is I've been teaching online long before people discovered online teaching and learning because of COVID. So when people joined the online learning world, I and many others were there saying, "Oh, welcome to the party." And let's have a look at some of the methodologies. So one way I've compared it is, if we look at the face-to-face teaching on the left-hand side, there's a teacher with the class on a boat in the natural context, in their face-to-face context. Now let's put that context online, and you're in the middle of a motorway. It's not the right place for that pedagogy. So why would we do the same, but in the wrong or a different location? It's a bit like playing tennis underwater, isn't it? Same idea. So I think my argument is, well, let's adapt to the situation. And I think if we're thinking about what we want to aim for, and I would suggest we always want to move in the direction of the right and that happy student, then lectures, well, maybe they're useful for university teaching. Personally, not the most effective, in my opinion. That's only my opinion. However, it does suit certain type of learning, definitely. But here's my suggestion, is why not focus on more agency? I'll let you read this very useful quote. So if this is how we motivate professionals as well as students, through agency, and just let's clarify what agency is the Longman Dictionary definition. So notice it's responsibility for what and how What and how? That's interesting, isn't it? That's almost changing what we do now. So my suggestion is move more to the right. Okay, so this is a figure adapted from Downey's coaching spectrum. And personally, I've explored the world of coaching. I'm not a qualified coach, but I have certainly used lots of coaching techniques and learnt lots from other coaches in our sector, and used certain techniques in teacher training and teaching in order to help me move more to the right, as you can see here, and expand my tool belt. That's all I'm suggesting. I'm not saying to only stay in the right-hand side. What I'm suggesting is we have lots of options. Sometimes we do need to just tell. That's what I'm doing with you now. I'm being directive. But other times, I might ask questions, or I might hand over to you more. I did this at the very beginning with the fidget spinner activity that hopefully you're still listening out for. So here's my suggestion. So we know we can lecture, we can give demonstrations, we can have a discussion with our students, we give them practice, we can directly just teach them. But what about if we explore and how to guide and maybe coach? And what does that look like in the classroom? Well, we can see towards the left the presentation, practice, production, lesson structure, so PPP. Okay, that's suitable for maybe more towards the left, somewhere in the middle. But what about the flipped approach, or task-based learning, TBL, or project-based learning, or even coaching? So, or what about even flipped coaching? And what about self-organized learning environments, SOLE, SOL? Now, I'm not going to go into explaining what each one of these are, because we'd be here for too long. But on the Effective Live online teaching course that I run, that's one of the things that we explore. More appropriate methodologies for the online environment, taking into account that our students have access to all the information and knowledge produced on the planet, because they're sitting in front of a computer connected to the internet. So our job is no longer to lecture, but to guide, maybe. So let's move on to online safety. Very briefly, there are many things to think about. And I think this is where we really need to know our classroom very well, in order to make sure that, you know, we're ensuring that everybody is in a positive and a safe learning environment. Okay, so if we think about an acceptable user policy, before our students join the class, they should have read and agreed to how they will be behaving and interacting with others online. This is their acceptable user policy. They would also have signed a contract. And a contract like, for example, I'll pay ahead of time for the classes, a 24-hour or 72 cancellation policy. So we're talking about the well-being of the teacher here as well, you know, instead of just sort of saying, well, you've cancelled, right, well, I'll find another time to recover that lesson. Well, no, if you haven't cancelled within that set time, I'm sorry, you need to forfeit the lesson. Things like, well, if they turn up late, what do? Do you compensate and extend that time and go over the allotted time to make up for the time that the student was late for? I would say no. If they've turned up late, well, then you finish the lesson according to the time that you've agreed. However, that's your decision. You need to include that in the contract. Now, here, this website, EnglishTrainingFree.com, with the permission of Fajar, he did give me permission earlier, I will recommend this website for all of your students. If you would like to give your students some extra free online English lessons, go to this website. They can do a free level test, and then if you haven't done one already, which I'm sure you have, and they can choose the level and join the classes, normally on Zoom, at the time and the day provided. These lessons are given by trainee teachers on CELTA, Delta, and Trinity courses. So Cambridge, Trinity courses online. And obviously those trainee teachers need practice students. And that's where this website offers basically free English classes online for students. Here you can see an acceptable user policy. This is the student code of conduct that I give every student that joins. That's what they need to read and agree to. And their lesson agreement of how they will behave online. So they should make sure they're comfortable. They should all have their microphone and their cameras on, suitable lighting, appropriately dressed, of course, as if you're walking into any classroom. So obviously in a quiet location as well. So this agreement is something that I think is important even before the classes begin, setting ground rules. Let's move on to teaching platforms. There are many. We're using Zoom at the moment. To be honest, that's probably the one I'm most used to and prefer. I've used a few others as well. I'm not saying the others are not any like they're worse or in any way. Absolutely not. However, I just have my preference. Here are some others that you might use. I know butter.us a few years ago. The last time I saw that was thank you very much for sharing the website, Twitter. The butter.us are very similar to Zoom. You've also got the Google Meet, haven't you, as well? And anyway, lots and lots of possible options. Getting to know your classroom is key. Now, the same as in the physical classroom, you would need to know where the light switch is, where the air conditioning is. Do the tables and chairs move? How does the board work? Is it a chalkboard? Have you got chalk? I've taught in classrooms, yes, with a chalkboard and no chalk. Great. Okay. So what about the whiteboard? Is there a pen there? Can you open the window in case it gets too hot? What about the heating? If it gets too cold? You need to know your classroom physically and online, because otherwise, and these are things that I've seen of teachers online, is not being able to see your students online because maybe you don't know how to configure the cameras properly or, and view your students. So you get questions like, hello, are you here? Could you imagine that in a physical classroom? It's a bit strange, wouldn't it be? What about setting up, Zoom has the option of breakout rooms, putting students into groups. Sometimes there's an internet connection. And then, right, we've lost a student, now somebody's by themselves. Are we aware of that? What about the listening component? Do you know how to share your audio correctly? Little technical things. And again, sharing the materials. How accessible and easily accessible are they? So are you sharing materials in a format that students maybe have to pay to open? For example, a Word document. Not everybody has Word, Microsoft Word on their computers. Could we use a different format to allow students to access the material with just one click without having to download and save and then open? And we're thinking of accessibility and the universal design for learning. So UDL is a useful thing to be thinking about in this aspect. Thinking about teaching tools. This is the bit that everybody tends to think about when you say, oh, teaching online. Yeah, I'm going to use this and that and the other. And it's just tools. So be careful, I would say, with bells and whistles. Oh, it looks pretty and it looks nice, but the question is it effective? So there are lots of possible tools. Obviously, your teaching platform, like Zoom here, does have a whiteboard and it's been improved recently. But there are others. Classroomscreen.com, I love. It's great. It's got lots of things that you can add to it, but there are more. It's not the only one. Explore. Try to see which one you prefer. You might want to create your own materials. here are some websites that might help you with that. I'm not going to explain each one. It's there for you to have a look at. I can certainly share the links later if you need them, so feel free to get in touch. I'll share my email at the end. So creating your own materials is useful instead of just depending on, a course book. Thank you, Kutha. Obviously, we're teaching online, and this is related to what I said before, the methodology you use for teaching. So collaboration online in a group seems to be the logical thing to do. So there's collaboration and cooperation, and these two different things, essentially. But notice that you might want to get students to work together, different groups, come back to the main group, and then teach the others something. Because, as I say, they have access to the internet. You can monitor it, make sure that they're accessing the right material, the appropriate material, and then they come back and they teach their peers. And they do say that the best way to learn something is to teach it. I know I've become pretty good at the present perfect simple now, just because I've been teaching it for so many years. Yes, since 1997. Yes. So why not get our students to do something similar? And these collaborative tools might be useful. Have you realized I haven't mentioned these? I haven't mentioned artificial intelligence, nor all the big ones. These are the typical popular ones, I think. And I can imagine most of you have used at least one of these. I know during COVID, I had teachers who were practically addicted to Kahoot, and many a student as well. My question is, okay, is it just bells and whistles? Is it effective learning happening there? And that's what we need to question. I'm not saying for one moment it's not. What I'm saying is we need to question. And the choosing our tech tools has to be done using specific, very clear criteria. And one of those models is by Ruben Puentedura. I'd like to say thank you to Sylvia Duckworth for a sketch here of the SAMR model. Now, basically, as you can see, if we are, for example, a gap fill, we're going to do a gap fill. Well, I could use a pen and paper or a Word document or a Google document, which is actually my preferred go-to. Or I could say, well, no, I'm going to try substitution and use WordWall. Okay, but that's just substitution. It's a direct digital tool to substitute what I'm already doing. To be honest, I've done that, and I've noticed that using WordWall to do that just takes longer, and I can't check the answers. So now it has a handicap. It's not really ideal for my situation. I would much rather use the Google Doc where I can see students writing their answers in real time and correct them. And that would speed up feedback as well. But then you might want to go augmentation, modification, and ideally something completely different where the technology you use redefines and allows you to do something that you've never been able to do before. And that's what I'm suggesting about the methodologies for online teaching as well. We need to redefine. And some of the suggestions I've put forward today should redefine how we teach effectively online. So there are others as well. We've seen the TPAC model by Mishra and Matthew and Kuller as well at the Michigan State University. They adapted from Lee Schulman's concept. This is how to integrate, maybe on a bigger context as well. I'm not going to go into the details of this. It's just to highlight that this TPAC model exists. And I'm sure you are, well, you're online. You can Google it now if you wish, or a bit later. Okay. So, right, we're coming back just to wrap up. Do you remember that fidget spinner activity that I gave you at the beginning? That list of things that you predicted you would hear? Did you? It was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the Effective Live Online Teaching course. Not all of it, but so Did I tick some of your boxes is what I need to know. Yes or no? Thank you, Mary. Did you hear some of the things you had on that initial list? So notice what I got you to do. Three or four, Pujariya. That's pretty good going. I'm happy with that. Do tell us what that fourth one is, though, to see if we can tick that box as well. Thank you, Lalith, as well, and Larissa. So notice what I did. I got you doing something else while you were listening to the input as well. Remember, we're always multitasking, and even more so when we're online. So I'm trying to keep you engaged at different levels, more than one level. Now, this has been a lecture, a talk. I'm talking at you. It's not the ideal way to teach, of course. And obviously, I'd be doing things differently if it were a lesson, so to speak. So a lot of what you've seen is a snippet from the Effective Live Online Teaching course that I run. This is an 8-week course, which will basically almost at master's, practically at master's level. That's the sort of detail and depth that we'll be going into. These are the areas that we'll be looking at. You can see the course units that we focus on. And if you want to get a free online lesson planner, please scan the QR code. I'll leave that there for a moment before moving on. If you would like to get in touch, I will put my email in the chat, and possibly I don't know if that can be shared on the Facebook page. I'm happy for that to go there as well. And we can talk about how I can help you or your center become the best online teacher or teaching organization you can be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pongo, for a wonderful webinar. I think there are so many different questions related to your presentation, but I want to ask something personally about teaching online. As we might know that children right now want to take English course, but unfortunately, like for K-12, sometimes there aren't many English courses offered that. So what do you think about this one? Is it really difficult, or do we need to conduct a research related to children taking English course maybe in the future?
It's a very good question. I've had lots of discussions with experts in the field of young learning teaching. And to be honest, I'll tell you what I think as a father of children. I personally, seeing my children grow up, I would want them to experience learning in a physical environment for as many years as possible before they then go online. They need certain social skills and different things in the physical classroom before then they can appreciate the online environment and make the most of the online environment. There are pros and cons to both, definitely. I would like to see the young learners in a physical classroom first, and then ideally, personally, I would say that online teaching, maybe from 16, 17, 18 years on or older, then I would say then it's more effective. The reason being, well, there are many, is that apart from the social skills you're going to pick up, but also you can appreciate and see how things work. Oh, I'm going a bit blurry. Sorry, it must be the heat here in London. Let me fix my camera. Technical issues. Basically, you can appreciate the online environment more from seeing now. But definitely more research, Duki. Yes, it's certainly something worth doing. But yeah, my personal reaction is allow them in the physical classroom first.
Oh,
However,
okay.
that said, there are other sort of external factors. So, for example, Olympic level athletes who are children, maybe I know that they have to learn online, because they have to travel, and well, that's the solution. So one thing is an obligation, the other thing is maybe online offers a solution to a problem, and then it's also effective.
Okay, thank you so much. Very interesting point of view. I think we have several minutes before we move on to Mr. Fajar. So for the participants, if you would like to ask one or two questions before we move on to Mr. Fajar, as it begins the end of our discussion for today. Any questions, please just drop it on the group, on the chat box, basically, or you can just raise hand right now. We've got 3 minutes left before we ended our discussion for today. Thank you so much. Yeah, very insightful. Okay, Mr. I don't know how to pronounce the apostrophe of your name. Okay, so maybe Pedro, yeah? Mr.
Oh,
Pedro,
sure, Pedro.
is you okay? Mr. Pedro, you can speak right now.
Uh, Good afternoon, Mr. Paul Ash. Well, I'd like you please to a little bit summarize the strategies to motivate students while teaching online.
Summarize. Okay, first of all, look after yourself. You can't pour from an empty glass. So your own well-being, and that begins with your setup, that begins with where you decide to live, even. That also begins with where you work. Do you work outside? Like me, sometimes. So think about your well-being, physical and mental. Think about that of your students, what you can help them with. Think about the methodologies that you're using. Are they appropriate? Are they engaging enough for your students? So there are many, many elements, and I think we've touched, that's the essence of what we've done, I think, is touched upon all those, not all of them, but many of the ingredients that make effective online teaching. And for me, by far, is being passionate about what you're doing. I've been working in the English language teaching sector since 1997, as you heard Dwiki surprised. He was very surprised at that. I'm kind of surprised myself, actually. But I've enjoyed every minute of it because I've done lots of different things. I've explored lots of different areas, and big areas as well in the sector. So I'm an examiner for Cambridge and Trinity. I'm a materials writer. I'm a teacher trainer for Cambridge and for Trinity as well. I'm an academic manager. I've been a school director. I'm a business consultant for IELTA. So I'm a proofreader and project manager. So lots of different things within the sector. And I think that has kept my flame sort of glowing. And therefore, there are many times where I've honestly said, I feel like I'm being paid to do a hobby because I'm enjoying it so much. And that passion, I think, transmits, I hope it does anyway, through to my students as well. And I've motivated, not all of them, but many a teenager, a sullen teenager. And remember a group of teenagers saying, you really love what you do, don't you? Now, I said, well, why wouldn't I? If I didn't, I should leave and go and do something different because I'm only doing a disservice. So passion for what you do. Choose what you do and do it with all your heart. I think that might be a summarizing comment there. Thank you for a wonderful question.
Okay, I think that's all for today. I think we can move on to Mr. Fajar because we have a limited time for everyone. So, Mr. Fajar, the time is yours. You think?
Thank you so much again, Paul. We're really grateful to have you willing presenting in this webinar for us, and also thank you, teachers, educators joining us in this session. Before we wrap up I would like to again promote our teachers community of IELTA Indonesia. We also have our YouTube channel where we put the recordings of our past webinars. And also, if you want to revisit this webinar session, you can really you can just subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's not a really big YouTube channel, but we post every recorded sessions that we have had, and of course our future webinar sessions. And if you want to again be updated with our future events and collaborations, remember to follow us on our Facebook page. Now, again, thank you very much. And as our appreciation from IELTA Indonesia, we would like to award recognize Paul's dedication to his work in education and sharing it with us in IELTA Indonesia for teachers around the world. So kindly accept this recognition as an
That's
appreciation. Paul.
very humbling. Thank you very much.
Well, feel free to share it on your social media. Let your network knows that you presented with us. Mention us, okay, and of course, they will be able to watch your recording. And also, again, for teachers, participants, educators joining us, remember to fill in the attendance form before you leave this Zoom meeting, so you can also receive your attendance certificate from IELTS Indonesia. Remember to fill in the information correctly, because that's where you will get your certificate on your email straight after you submit the form. And again, remember to follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more learning opportunities, professional development opportunities for English teachers. Yes, so we have a question. When is the next event? Yes, just follow us on Facebook. Well, we try our best to keep up every month or at least once in 2 months. But again, if you want to be updated, just watch out for our Facebook updates. Again, thank you very much. I think the moderator can wrap up our session.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Rajar and Mr. Paul, for the engaging section. I truly believe that maybe in the upcoming webinars or maybe the upcoming seminars, we can collaborate again together with the IELTA someday, somehow. But yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for all of the participants from wherever you are to come to this wonderful webinar section. And thanks so much for Mr. Paul for being our speaker for this evening at my country for the evening. Okay, maybe it's still morning in Peru. But yeah, thank you so much for coming in for all English instructors, English teachers. I hope you have a great day and I believe that this webinar will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So you can watch again, you can take a look again what are we just discussing about for this night. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm as your moderator signing out and also from all of our members and from Mr. Paul and Mr. Fajar. Thank you so much for coming today and see you
Thank
next time.
you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.